So this is coming from the Senate. We're going to dive right in here. We're coming from the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is a senator, a sitting senator. These 3 clips that we're going to bring forward are an actual U.S. senator. This is going to be so delicious. But before we hit those play buttons, Dr. Button Pusher, are you in your seat and ready?
Good day, sir.
I love it. Anytime that plays, it makes me happy. Well, I tell you what, Tim, with your permission, of course, diving right in, maybe?
Let's jump in.
Let's dump it. I dig this. Okay. Well, we're going to do a little crazy. Let's start with number 2, Doctor, and then we'll go to number 1.
What is the experience like of the ambulance pulling up into the bay and somebody coming into your hands with gunshot wounds, particularly multiple gunshot wounds, and perhaps, if you can identify it, even high-speed projectile AR-15 type gunshot wounds?
The likelihood of saving someone's life depends on both where they are shot and how many times they are shot. I have seen, again, although I cannot identify types of ammunition or types of firearms in the emergency department, that's not my training, and we don't know that at the time. I have seen organs shredded, aortas bisected, and obviously have seen folks with gunshots to the brain as well.
Okay, so we're starting off slow, Tim. Start off slow, because I thought it was very important to show you the angle of which this guy's going to set everything up. Those high speed velocity rounds, the AR-15, right? He's forcing the conversation to go towards AR-15s and eventually muskets.
Because of their high speed velocity bullets.
Their high speed velocity magic laser bullets.
Who wants to let him know that every bottlenecked rifle cartridge in existence is high speed, many of which have projectiles 2, 3, 4 times heavier than the AR-15. Yeah. But boy, he's focused like a laser on that AR-15.
Laser beam. Yeah, man, like the focus on this guy on it.
He's good.
But you know what I love? He is good. Yes, there it is. He is good. You know what I love about this, Tim? I love that he sets up a gotcha question for the witness, and the witness has such a hard time doing it because it's so hard to quantify. She's like, well, I can't really talk about what wounds look like from what platform or what gun because it's not my specialty. A little side note, a very few people can because that's almost impossible. Anyway, besides that whole point, she's like, but I have seen organs shattered, organs just obliterated, brains, bones, aortas, everything just perforated. You know what's interesting about that, Tim, is that qualifies for every single bullet out there.
I was going to say,
it's not special to an AR.
Will destroy organs and dissect aortas and penetrate skulls. Yeah.
It's true. Isn't it odd how we have a setup like this? Because this is the key point here. This is all about getting this news snippet. This is all about getting your name out there because there's not a bill going forward. They called this hearing just to have some shock statements for clips for their reelection campaigns. Yeah. And they come out with this kind of stupidity. Oh, it's so good. And musket day's here and it's coming quick. Let's hit number 3 because I want to get to the musket.
Well.
Suffice it to say that knife wounds and beating injuries are customarily easier to treat than gunshot wounds, and particularly multiple gunshot wounds.
That is correct. I'll also say that another senator made a point about suicide. Most suicide attempts we can also save. Suicide attempts by a firearm are almost universally lethal.
Tim, I just want to throw a hypothetical out there for you, and I'm sure you're going to find the connection here. If I'm sitting on a hand grenade and it goes off, is it harder to heal me than if I get a paper cut? Is it?
I know,
That's
right?
what I want to know.
And what he overlooks in this little statement is, and it's ironic because hands and feet and beatings versus rifles. You know what the FBI tells us? Far more people die by hands and feet than by rifle fire of any kind, including this incredibly powerful AR-15.
Oh,
crazy, huh?
Tim, that is top tier analysis.
Ban hands and feet. I'm going to get a new T-shirt line printed up. Ban hands and feet.
For the hands and feet. Yep. Because for the children, because you nailed it. You are correct. Because it turns out, and not a lot of people knew this, Tim, and if we didn't have this hearing, and thank goodness that we did, it turns out that knife wounds are easier to solve than multiple gunshot wounds. It's just so stupid. Really? Oh, okay, cool. Anyway, let's not go into that whole triangular bayonet thing from the Civil War. Let's ignore that one. Let's not touch that one. But now it's time, Tim. The moment has come. Without much more ado, enter the fray of the musket zone. This is number 4.
And not to belabor the point too much, but have you ever witnessed multiple injuries by musket, which was the firearm of choice at the time the Second Amendment was drafted?
I don't know that I've ever seen a musket wound.
Yeah. And I think the founders may well have had enough common sense to understand that in the time it takes to reload a musket, if somebody were going berserk in a tavern or at a musical performance, there'd be plenty of time to intervene, and that something categorically different takes place when an individual has access to weapons that either are or can be configured to fire rapid fire and to fire ammunition of an entirely different and more destructive nature because of the speed with which the projectile flies.
So there it is, Tim. There's so much in that clip.
There's so much.
This segment is going to be great.
Oh, where do you start with that one?
Well, I think the responsible thing to do here, Tim, is to lay out an outline and hit it piece by piece. So here's what I suggest for the outline. First, we have muskets and their ability to fire a single shot, which obviously implies we can only have one round in our firearms because modern technology has to be retarded back to that. And that's a real term, YouTube, not being mean. Then we can go into the damage aspect of a 50 to 75 caliber bullet versus a .223. Yeah. We there's lots of elements. And then also we can hit on the fact that the human prop behind the guy, the human prop goes,
ma'am, have you ever seen somebody wounded by a musket in 2023? No, sir, I have not. Have you ever seen somebody wounded by a catapult, ma'am? I have not, Senator. Have you ever seen somebody wounded by a slingshot? You know, David slew Goliath with a slingshot. Have you ever seen somebody killed or wounded by a slingshot, ma'am? Answer me now. No, sir, I have not. I mean, good grief.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Can we I got to do this real quick before we forget him. What's the clip with the doctor behind him, the human prop? Number 8. Can you throw that up there, doctor, real quick? Because this guy's face right now, when he asked the musket question, the witness is like, nah. The doctor behind him, he's literally sitting there for like 8 hours as a human prop. Is like,
yeah, he's trying not to laugh. That or he's farting. But I'm going to go with trying not to laugh. Because look at her face.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, that was dumb. That was dumb.
We're on your side, Senator, but that was a really dumb question.
Yep, like, that one hurt. I'm a prop for this. Yeah, you are. But I just wanted to say that. But please, for the love of goodness, eviscerate this man in his historical ignorance, because you are a firearms expert better than I.
Let's delve into this one, Doc. Let's start off with number 13. Number 13, folks, is the Ellis and Jennings repeating rifle, and everything I'm about to show you comes from the late 1700s, early 1800s. Our founders would have been alive and well when these firearms were being manufactured and used. So the old Ellis Jennings repeating rifle could fire multiple shots. And next we have number 14, and this is a naval swivel gun. And the naval swivel guns could fire more than one cartridge, but surely your next response would be, Senator, well, you're not going to mount a swivel gun to your gun belt. Well, you're right. So there are some other options. But first, this is one that's often brung up in discussion, and this is a good one. Number 15, Doc. This is the puckle gun. This little guy is a repeating firearm. But again, it's a little bit big. It's not really shoulderable. So, okay, let's move on to number 16, the old knock gun. Now, here we have a repeater in every sense of the word. Okay, revolving barreled rifle. It can fire multiple shots. The founders probably could have never envisioned a gun that loaded itself or fired multiple shots because they were just dumb old men in powdered wigs with pointed sticks. Wrong. This narrative of the anti-gunners is completely wrong. Now let's move over to a pistol for that bar fight scenario. And we have the duckfoot pistol. Now, as common practice would dictate during the American Civil War, many times people would carry more than one repeating firearm. So you could tuck several of these little duck foots in your pockets and have multiple firearms. Thank you, Doc. And then we'll sum this little demonstration up with number 18. And this is our Bohemian repeating rifle. Okay.
Oh.
So, folks, repeating firearms were in fact known about during the founding of our nation. They were nothing new.
Weird.
And our founders were not idiots. And they definitely knew technology would advance on all fronts. They weren't idiots,
That's
folks.
odd.
But
so
they
odd.
want to continue to pretend like they're a bunch of racist white men idiots, and therefore everything they did should be discounted.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. All of it. Because they didn't have those. They couldn't foresee multiple rounds of technological advances.
No.
They just couldn't see it coming. So
Who would have?
Tim, who did? Who did? I mean,
I'm sure they
genuinely.
thought they'd have swords and spears for the rest of their lives. That's how we're going to fight
Forever.
wars until eternity. I mean,
Forever.
there's no way we're going to advance
Exactly.
technologically because it's not like they saw any technological advancements in their lifetime.
No.
You know, they ran around in loincloths and stuff. They didn't invent anything.
Yes, exactly. Ben Franklin didn't do like a bit bifocals and a bajillion things. Yeah, no, that wasn't a thing. Innovation coming right out of the Renaissance. No, none of that. But you know what, Tim? I think you did an amazing job with the historical references. We can firmly prove that he is dumb.
Yes.
And now the last thing, and this one was my personal favorite, the little shock factor here, that a 50 to 77 caliber musket ball of lead is less dangerous than a 5.56 or a 2.23, which is literally the size of a .22 long rifle.
Yeah. See, mass times velocity squared, right?
It is
a simple formula. And so big, heavy bullets do a lot of damage. The wounds inflicted by those firearms of that era were so nasty that many times the wounds to limbs and stuff couldn't be repaired. They would have to amputate.
They just cut the whole thing off.
Right. And if you didn't die from a chest shot, gut shot, whatever, and you can live for a while, regardless if it was a musket that hit you or a 5.56 that hit you somewhere in a non-vital area, you would just simply die of an infection, which is a horrible thing to die from.
Right.
Right. So you get blood infections and things like that. There's a good chance you're going to pass. So the notion that the musket just was this, well, as one anti-gunner said recently, and we featured this, basically they fought with pellet guns.
It was a pea shooter.
It's just a toy. All those dead people maimed and limbs missing. You know, it's just those pellet guns. They're idiots. Yeah. I mean,
no, it's solid gold. It's solid gold. And I think you said it perfectly. They be dumb. We have deemed them dumb. And
they got
an
the
amazing
dumb
way.
Yeah.
They got the dumb. They got a case of the dumbs.